Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know, my name's Connor, and today we finally have the second installment of the Financial Wellbeing Checklist. So just very quickly, for those of you who don't know, the Financial Wellbeing Checklist is sort of a mini series put together by myself and Alan. We are Australian entrepreneurs and have a keen interest in personal finance. So this series will go through in detail how you need to set up everything in your financial life in order to prosper, essentially. These videos will include things like calculating your net worth, understanding and setting up your super, understanding the tax system in Australia, and many other things, but today's video is going to be on credit scores. And whether you already have an idea of how credit scores work or you have no previous understanding whatsoever, this video will have you covered. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover, I'll go over it very quickly here and also put the timestamps in the description below. Now I recommend, even if you do have an understanding of how the credit score and credit reporting works, it's definitely worthwhile watching each of these sections. But for those of you who are very interested in a particular point, I'll put those below. So firstly, we'll go over what a credit score is and how we use it, what it's used for essentially. We'll then go over how you can improve your credit score. And finally, I'm going to show you exactly how you can check your credit score in Australia entirely for free. And I'll even show you my accounts to give you a glimpse of what my credit score is and how I think I've achieved that. Very quickly, if you guys find any value at all in this video, we really would appreciate just a gentle tapping of the like button. It truly does help us out, and we've seen awesome results from those videos where we can see people are actually clicking it. So if you could just take 1 second and tap that for us, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so we'll jump right into it now. The first stage of this video, what exactly is a credit score? So your credit score is a number between 0 and 1,000 or 0 and 1,200, depending on the credit reporting agency you look at. And this number basically demonstrates your credit worthiness. So in other words, it helps give an indication of how responsible or irresponsible you are in regards to credit, essentially letting companies know, companies like banks, insurance companies, utility providers, telcos, things like that, whether or not it's safe to give you money in the form of a loan or whether to sign you up on a particular deal. Now, the way that you're given a credit score is based on your credit report. Basically, your credit report records information about you when it comes to debt and credit. Now, the things they record can be good or they can be bad. The types of things that will come up on your credit report and may, as a consequence, impact your credit score are the length of your credit history. So how long have you had a credit line open? Your credit limit. So, if you think about a simple example of a credit card, how much money you have access to in that credit card or in a combination of credit cards. The type of credit you have, whether you have a mortgage and a car loan and a credit card, things like that. Your repayment history, whether you've paid on time, late, or had any defaults. Any credit applications that you go for, whether it's applying for a credit card or a home loan, those are all recorded on your credit report. And obviously, if you've had any bankruptcies. Now, with all of these things taken into account on the credit report, there'll be things, say a longer credit history, which are positive. So those are pushing to increase your credit score overall. However, on the other hand, there'll be things like missing a credit card payment that negatively impact your credit score. So with all of these things taken into account, you're then put into one of 5 brackets: below average, average, good, very good, and excellent. And as we said in the beginning, a good credit report, and thus a higher credit score, means that you're more reliable in the eyes of these companies that may be offering you credit or a service or a loan. And so those who are seen as being more reliable, having a higher score, they're usually given better deals in regards to things like interest rates. So where most, particularly Australians, will find the benefit in having a higher score is in buying a home. But not only that, as we keep moving forward, it's becoming more and more important for Australians to keep a close eye on their credit score because more and more companies have an interest in what it is. If we end up moving to where the US is, for example, they actually check your credit score or credit report when you apply for a rental lease. So when you just want to rent a place, they may even check your credit report. So although we're not quite at the stage they're at just yet, it still does at this point in time have a lot of utility to pay attention to it and particularly aim to increase it. And that brings us on to the next stage of this video. How can you improve your credit score? So there is no definite answer for this particular question because the credit rating agencies are very hush-hush about how they actually determine one's credit score and exactly how much certain things that they look at impact the score at the end of the day. But based on, a little bit of research and what the government says about credit reporting, we have an idea of things that generally increase one's score. So I've broken them down into just 3. The first one is having a lower credit limit. So for example, for one of your cards, if you had a limit of $10,000, meaning you had access to $10,000 of credit, you might want to consider lowering that to $5,000 or whatever you need on a consistent basis. There's no need to have excess amounts if you're not going to use it because that is seen as being unsafe in the Australian credit reporting system. Now the next one, number 2, is don't apply for too many lines of credit, particularly in a short time frame. So what I mean by this is don't go and get a car loan, get a credit card, apply for a home loan, all within a few months. Because what happens is when a particular company, say a credit card company, pulls your credit report to see whether or not you're worthy to get the credit card, that's called a hard inquiry. And that actually goes on your credit score and decreases it. So if you have many of these, particularly in quick succession, that could really lower your score. So try and avoid applying for many lines of credit, but if you can't, then just try and avoid doing it in quick succession. And finally, number 3, definitely the most important one is pay your bills on time. Whether it's an electricity bill, your phone bill, or you're paying back a debt, say with a credit card or a home loan, do not miss your payments. This, along with obviously a bankruptcy, have the most severe impact on your credit report and your score at the end of the day. And if you can avoid missing any payments, you're going to save yourself having your score drop and ultimately save yourself money. Okay, so now we're going to move on to stage 3 of the video. How do you check your score? Now, just before I go over exactly how you can check your score, there's something important to note here. In Australia, there are 3 main credit reporting agencies. These are Equifax, Illion, and Experian. And each of these credit reporting agencies actually have a different strategy or algorithm that determines what their score is for you. So you will actually, at this point in time, have 3 different credit scores. And when you go to apply for credit, for example, probably the most common one, buying a home, you don't know exactly which one the bank is going to check. So it's important to know what your credit score is across each of these agencies to ensure that you've covered each of the bases. So in order to check your Equifax credit score and credit report, the website I use is Get Credit Score. So as you can see here on the dashboard, it gives you a very easy to view breakdown of your credit score. So with Equifax and through the Get Credit Score website, you can see my credit score here is 899, and Equifax is actually the one that use the credit score scaling from 0 to 1,200. But fortunately, that's still in the excellent category for them. Then we can go here to history and it'll give you a breakdown of your credit score from the last 7 months. And another really cool thing about the Get Credit Score website is that they actually give you some score advice. So they let you know, based on your credit report, which factors are actually helping your credit score and which are hurting your credit score. So next, we'll move on to the website that gives you an indication of Illion's credit report. So if you go to creditsimple.com.au, they'll give you an indication of Illion's credit score for you. And this is a prime example of how your credit score varies depending on the credit reporting agency. As you can see here with Ilion through the Credit Simple website, my credit score is only 659. So now if we go into my credit report from Ilion, you can see here they've got a breakdown of the credit card that I currently have, and they also know exactly how my repayment history has gone. Now, like I said, these agencies don't give a detailed explanation as to what would increase and decrease your credit score based on their algorithm. However, I have an inkling that because there are actually 5 inquiries under this credit report, that is potentially why this one is so much lower than the others. And that's another important thing to keep in mind. So with the impacts that an inquiry has on your credit score, you don't actually necessarily need to be granted the service or the debt. And in the case of Telstra and Optus having their inquiries listed there, I had requested to set up internet with each of them at my previous address, and both, because of issues with the building, couldn't actually get a system up and running. Yet, their inquiries are still on my credit report and decreasing my score. So that's just something to keep in mind. And finally, we've got a website which gives you experience credit report and credit score, Credit Savvy. Very similar to the other websites. Right on the homepage, they give you a breakdown of your score. So with Experian, I'm back again in the excellent category, and that's with a score of 842 out of 1,000. As you can see here, they give you a more detailed breakdown of each of those categories. You can see if you were to be considered below average, that would be a score between 0 and 549. Okay or average would be 550 to 624. Good would be 625 to 699. Very good is 700 to 799, and excellent is 800 to 1,000. And yep, like the other websites, they give you an indication of your history, and you can also go through and check your credit report. And finally, another cool thing that a few of these websites offer is seeing how you rank up compared to other people around Australia. And then you can obviously also check where you stand in any of the states, in a particular postcode, and based on your age as well. And that's pretty much it. So that should cover most of the questions that you may have about credit scores and credit reporting, how they actually impact your everyday life. If you do have any questions whatsoever, just pop them in the comment section below. Alan and I get to every single comment, so we'd be sure to reply. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do find this sort of content valuable, definitely go down, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That'll ensure that you'll be first to know whenever either one of these financial wellbeing checklist videos comes out or any of our other content. You'll know straight away. But if you're looking for more right now, here's our last video, and here's a video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. So hopefully one of those appeal to you, but if not, I'll see you in the next one.